What if the difference between the 99% and the 1% has nothing to do with intelligence, success, money, or knowledge? What if it comes down to a single discovery hidden in plain sight? At this very moment, thoughts are moving through your mind, sounds are entering your awareness, and reality is unfolding around you. But there is something far more mysterious happening beneath it all. There is a silent observer witnessing every experience you have ever had. Most people spend their entire lives focused on what they are observing and never stop to investigate the one who is observing. Quantum physics revealed that observation influences reality, yet it left one question unanswered. Who is the observer itself? Today, we uncover the hidden observer the 99% never discover, and why recognizing it may be the most important shift a human being can make. The secret hidden in every moment of awareness. There is a secret so close to you that it becomes almost impossible to notice. It is present during every conversation, every decision, every memory, every dream, and every experience you have ever had. It accompanies you from the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep. It remains present during moments of happiness and moments of confusion. Yet despite its constant presence, most people never recognize it directly. The reason is surprisingly simple. Human attention is naturally drawn toward objects of experience rather than the source of experience itself. When you look at a landscape, your attention moves toward the mountains, the sky, the colors, and the details. When you listen to music, your attention follows the melody. When thoughts appear in your mind, your attention becomes absorbed in the content of those thoughts. The mind constantly focuses on what is being experienced. Very rarely does it stop to investigate the fact that experience is happening at all. This is where the hidden secret begins to reveal itself. Right now, sounds may be entering your awareness. Sensations may be present within your body. Thoughts may be moving through your mind. Emotions may be quietly influencing your perception. Yet all of these experiences share something in common. They are known. You are aware of them. The thought is known. The sensation is known. The emotion is known. The perception is known. But what is it that knows them? This question appears simple, yet it opens the door to one of the deepest mysteries of human existence. Quantum physics transformed the way humanity understands reality. Scientists discovered that observation plays a role far stranger than anyone previously imagined. The observer could not always be separated cleanly from what was being observed. Reality itself seemed connected to acts of measurement and observation in ways that challenged traditional assumptions. Yet amid all the discussions about particles, probabilities, and quantum fields, another mystery remained quietly untouched. Who is the observer? Not the object being observed, not the thought being observed, not the experience being observed. The observer itself. Most people never investigate this question because the mind automatically identifies with the contents of awareness. It says, I am my thoughts. It says, I am my memories. It says, I am my personality. It says, I am the story of my life. Yet every one of these things changes. A thought appears and disappears. A belief forms and later transforms. A memory fades. A personality evolves. The story keeps being rewritten. If all of these elements are changing, then can they truly represent the deepest foundation of who you are? Imagine sitting beside a river. The water moves continuously. New currents appear every moment. Reflections shift. Patterns form and dissolve. Nothing remains exactly the same from one instant to the next. Now imagine becoming so fascinated by the movement of the water that you never notice the space through which the river flows. Something similar happens within consciousness. Thoughts flow like currents. Emotions flow like currents. Experiences flow like currents. Memories flow like currents. The mind becomes fascinated by the movement while overlooking the awareness within which all movement occurs. This awareness possesses a remarkable quality. It does not need to announce itself. It does not compete for attention. It does not demand recognition. It remains quietly present while everything else changes. This is why the secret remains hidden. The observer is not hidden because it is distant. It is hidden because it is constant. Human perception adapts to whatever remains constant. The mind notices changes. It notices movement, notices contrast. It notices events. Constant presence often disappears into the background of experience. Consider the feeling of wearing clothes. After a short period, you stop noticing them. Not because they are absent, but because they remain consistently present. The brain filters them from conscious attention. Awareness itself functions in a similar way. It is so close, so immediate, and so constant that it becomes almost invisible, yet every experience depends upon it. Without awareness, no thought could be known. Without awareness, no sound could be heard. Without awareness, no emotion could be felt. Without awareness, no perception of reality could exist. Everything you know appears inside the field of awareness. The hidden secret is not another object waiting to be discovered. It is not a special experience reserved for a select few. It is not hidden in a distant location or locked behind complex knowledge. It is present in the simple fact that experience is happening. Even now, as these words are being read, awareness is present. It was present before the first sentence. It remains present during the reading. It will remain present after the final word disappears. The contents of awareness continue changing, but awareness itself remains. This realization marks the beginning of a profound shift. The attention that was once focused entirely on what is being observed begins turning toward the mystery of the observer. The search stops chasing objects and starts examining the source from which all experience is known. And this is precisely what the 99% miss. They spend their lives exploring the contents of consciousness while overlooking the silent presence that makes consciousness possible. The greatest secret hidden in every moment of awareness is not the thoughts passing through your mind, the world appearing around you, or the experiences unfolding within your life. It is the simple and astonishing fact that something is aware of them all, and that awareness has been here from the very beginning. Why the 99% never notice the one experiencing their lives? There is a remarkable contradiction at the center of human existence. The most important element of every experience is almost never examined. People dedicate years to understanding the world around them. They study history, science, technology, psychology, philosophy, and countless other subjects. They learn how societies function, how machines operate, and how the universe behaves. They gather information, accumulate knowledge, and develop increasingly sophisticated models of reality. Yet one question remains strangely absent. Who is having the experience of all this? Not what is being experienced, not what is being learned, not what is being remembered. The one to whom every experience appears. The reason the vast majority never investigate this mystery is not because it is difficult. It is because the structure of attention naturally points elsewhere. From the beginning of life, awareness becomes fascinated with appearances. A child sees colors, shapes, faces, movement, and sound. Attention rushes toward objects. It explores the environment. It learns names, categories, and meanings. The world becomes a collection of things to notice, understand, and interact with. This habit grows stronger. Attention becomes occupied by responsibilities, goals, relationships, fears, ambitions, and endless streams of information. Every day presents new situations demanding focus. Every challenge pulls awareness outward toward something that appears important. The result is that attention remains almost completely absorbed by content. Very little attention is directed toward the presence that receives the content. Imagine watching a movie so captivating that you become entirely immersed in the story. The characters feel real. Their struggles matter. Their victories create excitement. Their losses create emotion. For 2 hours, attention remains fixed on the unfolding events. Almost nobody thinks about the screen. The screen supports every image. The screen makes the entire experience possible. Yet attention remains attached to what appears on the screen rather than the screen itself. Human consciousness functions in a similar way. Thoughts, Sensations, emotions, memories, and perceptions create a continuous display of activity. The mind becomes deeply engaged with this activity. It analyzes, judges, compares, predicts, remembers, and reacts. The display becomes so compelling that the one experiencing the display remains unnoticed. This creates a fascinating illusion. Most people assume they know themselves because they know their personal story. They know where they were born. They know their likes and dislikes. They know their strengths and weaknesses. They know their history. They know their future plans. Yet none of these things answer the deeper question: who is aware of the story? Knowing the contents of experience is not the same as knowing the experiencer. A person may spend decades refining a self-image while never investigating the awareness that perceives that image. This confusion becomes even stronger because the mind constantly creates a sense of familiarity. Anything repeated long enough begins to feel unquestionable. The stream of thoughts running through consciousness feels familiar. The internal narrative feels familiar. Emotional reactions feel familiar. Because these processes are familiar, they are often mistaken for identity itself. Yet familiarity is not proof of truth. Consider how often thoughts contradict one another. One day the mind feels confident. The next day it feels uncertain. One day it believes something is essential. Later it dismisses the same thing as unimportant. The contents keep changing. Despite this constant movement, most people remain focused entirely on the changing contents. Quantum theory introduced an unexpected lesson about observation. The closer researchers examined reality, the more they discovered that what appears obvious at first glance often conceals deeper layers that operate according to entirely different principles. Human experience contains a similar hidden layer. The obvious layer consists of events, reactions, perceptions, and mental activity. The hidden layer consists of the fact that all of these are being experienced. Most attention never reaches this level because the mind is designed to engage with what changes. It notices movement. It notices contrast. It is a novelty. It notices problems requiring solutions. The one experiencing life does not appear as a problem. It does not compete for attention. It does not announce its presence. It remains quietly available behind every moment. This is why people can spend entire lifetimes overlooking it. They search for meaning in accomplishments. They search for fulfillment in circumstances. They search for certainty in beliefs. They search for identity in roles. They search for answers in information. Meanwhile, the experiencer behind every search remains unexamined. The irony is extraordinary. The closest reality in a person's life often receives the least attention. A person can observe distant galaxies through powerful telescopes. They can study microscopic particles with advanced instruments. They can analyze complex systems and uncover hidden patterns throughout nature. Yet the simple fact that experience is happening right now can remain unexplored. The 99% miss the experience because they never stop following the movement of experience long enough to question what is aware of the movement. Their attention remains attached to the passing scenes rather than the silent presence to whom the scenes appear. And once this becomes clear, a profound shift begins. The search is no longer directed toward accumulating more experiences, more knowledge, or more identities. Attention begins turning toward the mysterious presence that has been present through every experience, every piece of knowledge, and every identity. Not hidden behind life, not separate from life, but quietly existing at the very center of it, waiting to be noticed. The observer that exists beyond thought, memory, and identity. There is a strange assumption woven into nearly every human life. It appears so natural that few people ever question it. The assumption is that who you are can be found somewhere inside the collection of thoughts you think, the memories you carry, and the identity you have constructed throughout the years. This belief feels convincing because thoughts, memories, and identity seem deeply personal. They appear to belong to you. They shape your decisions. They influence your emotions. They create continuity between the past and the present. Together, they form the familiar image that most people call the self. Yet there is a hidden problem. Everything used to define the self is constantly changing. The thought occupying your attention this morning was not present yesterday. The idea that feels important today may disappear next month. Mental activity moves with astonishing speed. One moment the mind is focused on the future. The next moment it is revisiting the past. Then it becomes absorbed in imagination, concern, planning, comparison, or analysis. The stream never remains still. Thoughts arrive, thoughts depart, thoughts transform. Yet something recognizes each arrival and each departure. The same mystery appears when memory is examined. Many people believe memory provides the foundation of personal identity. Memories create the sense of a life story. They provide reference points that connect different chapters of experience. They allow a person to say, "That happened to me." Yet memory is far less stable than it appears. Entire years become difficult to recall. Certain moments remain vivid while thousands of others disappear without explanation. Memories change each time they are revisited. New interpretations reshape old events. Experiences that once felt insignificant later appear meaningful. Events that once seemed important lose their emotional weight. The archive is constantly being edited. If memories can shift, fade, distort, and evolve, can they truly be the deepest source of identity? Then there is the structure people call personality. Most individuals spend years constructing a description of who they are. They develop preferences, values, habits, goals, strengths, and weaknesses. These elements combine into a personal profile that feels familiar and reliable. Yet even personality changes. The shy child becomes the confident adult. The confident adult becomes reflective. The dreamer becomes practical. The skeptic becomes curious. The person who once feared uncertainty learns to embrace it. Entire patterns of behavior transform as life unfolds. What seemed permanent reveals itself as another process in motion. Quantum physics challenged the idea that reality consists of fixed objects, existing independently in a simple mechanical universe. As investigation moved deeper, certainty gave way to probability. Stability gave way to dynamic relationships. The solid world revealed layers of complexity hidden beneath ordinary perception. Something similar happens when the self is investigated carefully. The closer one looks, the harder it becomes to find a permanent identity among the changing contents of experience. Thoughts change, memories change, personality changes. Beliefs change, roles change, circumstances change. Yet despite this endless movement, there remains an undeniable sense that experience is occurring to someone. This is where the hidden observer begins to emerge. Imagine standing in a vast hall filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different version of you. One reflection represents childhood, another represents adolescence, another represents adulthood. One reflects confidence, another reflects uncertainty, one reflects success, another reflects failure. The reflections differ dramatically from one another, yet all of them are being viewed by the same observer. The observer does not become any single reflection. The observer remains present while the reflections change. Human consciousness contains a similar structure. Thoughts are reflections. Memories are reflections. Identities are reflections. Emotions are reflections. The observer exists prior to all of them. This observer cannot be reduced to a thought because thoughts are visible to it. It cannot be reduced to memory because memories appear within its field of knowing. It cannot be reduced to identity because identities are patterns it recognizes. The observer stands in a unique position. Everything else can be experienced. The observer is that which experiences. This distinction is easy to overlook because the observer does not possess dramatic qualities. It does not seek attention. It does not demand recognition. It remains quietly present beneath the movement of mental activity. Many people spend their lives attempting to improve the contents of consciousness without ever examining the source from which consciousness is known. They rearrange beliefs. They modify behaviors. They pursue new experiences. They refine personal narratives. These efforts can be valuable, yet they remain focused on what appears within awareness, rather than the awareness itself. The hidden observer exists beyond every description, because descriptions belong to the world of objects and concepts. The observer is not another concept waiting to be discovered. It is the silent capacity through which discovery becomes possible. This realization creates a profound shift. The question is no longer, which version of myself is the real one? The question becomes, what has been present through every version? The answer does not point toward another belief, another memory, or another identity. It points toward the simple fact of conscious presence, the knowing that remains while experiences change, the witnessing that remains while stories evolve, the silent center that remains while every image of self rises and falls. And once this becomes clear, a remarkable possibility appears. The observer you have been searching for has never existed inside thought, memory, or identity. It has always existed beyond them, quietly watching every chapter unfold, while never becoming confined to any chapter at all. The quantum paradox of the presence that never changes. Among the most puzzling discoveries in modern physics is the realization that the deeper reality is explored, the less it resembles the stable world that human beings assume they inhabit. Everyday perception suggests permanence. Buildings stand, mountains endure, objects appear solid and reliable. Life seems to unfold within a world composed of fixed things moving through predictable patterns. Yet beneath this appearance lies something far more extraordinary. The deeper scientific investigation travels, the more reality resembles activity rather than substance. What appears solid reveals immense movement. What appears permanent reveals ongoing transformation. What appears simple reveals layers of complexity hidden beyond ordinary perception. Human experience contains an equally astonishing paradox. Everything within your life changes continuously. Your body today is not the same body that existed years ago. The ideas you defend today are not identical to those you once held. Relationships evolve. Dreams shift direction. Circumstances rearrange themselves. Entire chapters emerge and disappear. Life behaves like an endless stream of transformation. Yet within this river of change, there seems to exist something that does not participate in the movement. This creates one of the most important mysteries a person can encounter. How can there be a sense of continuity within a life built entirely from change? Imagine opening an old photograph from childhood. The image may show a person you barely recognize. The face is different. The personality was different. The understanding of reality was dramatically different. The concerns that once felt important have vanished. The hopes, fears, and assumptions of that period belong to a completely different chapter. And yet, when you look at that photograph, there is an unmistakable feeling that the person in the image and the one looking at it now are connected. Not through appearance, not through personality, not through knowledge. Something deeper creates that connection. This is where the paradox begins. Everything that can be described about the person has changed. Yet the fact of being remains familiar. The mind often ignores this mystery because it is occupied with movement. It measures progress, compares outcomes, remembers events, anticipates possibilities, and constantly adjusts to new situations. Its attention remains directed toward the changing landscape of experience. Meanwhile, the stable background against which all change is noticed receives almost no examination. Consider a theater stage. Actors enter. Scenes change. Stories unfold. Costumes change. Lighting changes. Entire worlds appear and disappear throughout a performance. Yet beneath every scene remains the stage itself. The audience follows the drama. Their attention becomes absorbed by the unfolding events. The stage remains unnoticed because it does not participate in the story. Something similar happens within consciousness. Experiences perform their endless drama. Thoughts arrive with urgency. Emotions color perception. Memories appear unexpectedly. Expectations shape attention. Mental narratives create entire worlds of meaning. Amid this activity, a silent presence remains unchanged. It does not become happier when happiness appears. It does not become fearful when fear appears. It does not become confused when confusion appears. It does not become successful when success appears. It remains the knowing within which every experience unfolds. This is what makes the paradox so remarkable. The changing experiences feel personal. The changeless presence feels invisible. As a result, most people identify with the movement while overlooking the stillness. Quantum physics revealed that observation cannot always be separated neatly from the reality being observed. The observer enters the equation in ways that challenge classical assumptions. The act of observation becomes part of the mystery itself. Human awareness contains a related puzzle. The presence through which experience is known cannot easily be examined as an object because it is the very condition that allows examination to occur. You can observe a sensation. You can observe a memory. You can observe an image. You can observe a belief. You can observe an emotion. But the one doing the observing remains difficult to grasp because every attempt to capture it turns it into another object of attention. The observer remains one step beyond what is observed. This creates a fascinating realization. The most stable aspect of experience is not any particular experience. The most stable aspect is the capacity through which experiences are known. Everything else moves. The capacity to know remains. Everything else changes shape. The capacity to recognize change remains. Everything else passes through awareness. Awareness itself remains available. This does not mean awareness is frozen or lifeless. Quite the opposite. It is the living openness within which every possibility appears. It allows joy to be known. It allows sorrow to be known. It allows curiosity, wonder, fear, excitement, and discovery to arise. Yet it does not become trapped inside any of them. The paradox becomes impossible to ignore once it is seen clearly. You live within a universe defined by transformation. You inhabit a body that transforms. You carry a mind that transforms. You participate in relationships that transform. You move through circumstances that transform. And still there exists a silent continuity running through every moment. A presence that has accompanied every chapter without belonging exclusively to any chapter. The 99% remain focused on the shifting scenes. They chase the movement. They analyze the movement. They build identities from the movement. Very few stop long enough to notice the changeless presence from which the movement is seen. And once that presence becomes visible, reality begins to reveal a deeper dimension. Not because the world has changed, but because attention has finally discovered the one thing that remained unchanged through it all. The discovery that transforms the way you see reality forever. There are discoveries that add information to your life. And then there are discoveries that change the entire framework through which life is understood. Most forms of knowledge belong to the first category. Learning a new skill expands your abilities. Learning a new fact expands your understanding. Learning a new concept broadens your perspective. These discoveries are valuable because they increase what you know. Yet there exists another kind of discovery that does not add anything new. Instead, it changes the position from which you are looking. This shift is difficult to describe because it does not occur within the usual structure of learning. It is not about collecting additional theories. It is not about adopting another belief system. It is not about replacing one set of ideas with another. It is about recognizing something that was present before every idea appeared. For most of life, people experience reality from within a narrow psychological center. The mind becomes the reference point for everything. Thoughts define meaning. Preferences define value. Personal stories define identity. Every situation is filtered through a network of conclusions built over years of experience. Without realizing it, many people spend their lives looking through a window while believing they are looking at reality directly. The window consists of assumptions. It consists of interpretations. It consists of expectations. It consists of internal narratives. These mental structures become so familiar that they appear invisible. As a result, reality is often confused with the mind's description of reality. This confusion shapes nearly every aspect of human experience. A person encounters an event and immediately interprets it. A situation occurs and is instantly assigned meaning. A challenge appears and is measured against existing expectations. The raw experience is quickly replaced by a mental representation. The mind becomes a translator standing between awareness and reality. Most people never question this process because it operates continuously. Then something remarkable happens when the hidden observer begins to be recognized. For the first time, there is a separation between awareness and the stream of interpretation. Thoughts continue appearing. Opinions continue appearing. Judgments continue appearing. Yet they are no longer mistaken for the entirety of reality. They become visible as events occurring within consciousness rather than absolute descriptions of truth. This changes everything. Imagine wearing colored glasses since birth. Every object you see is influenced by the tint of the lenses. Every landscape appears through the same filter. Because the filter has always been present, it never becomes an object of attention. Then imagine removing the glasses. The world itself has not changed. The trees remain where they were. The sky remains where it was. The environment remains exactly as it was. Yet everything looks different because the filter is no longer controlling perception. In the same way, recognition of the observer functions similarly. Reality does not suddenly become a different universe. The external world remains present. Responsibilities remain present. Relationships remain present. Challenges remain present. What changes is the way experience is held. The constant identification with mental activity begins to loosen. The mind becomes something observed rather than something automatically obeyed. This shift reveals another fascinating insight. Many forms of suffering are amplified by unconscious identification. A thought appears and is believed completely. An emotion arises and is treated as permanent. A temporary circumstance is interpreted as an ultimate reality. The mind creates conclusions and immediately inhabits them. Once the observer is recognized, a new possibility emerges. Thoughts can be seen without becoming trapped inside them. Emotions can be experienced without becoming defined by them. Situations can be navigated without allowing them to determine the entirety of identity. A larger perspective becomes available. Quantum theory revealed that reality often behaves differently depending upon the framework through which it is examined. The observer cannot always be separated from the outcome. Observation itself influences what becomes visible. Human experience contains a similar principle. The way reality is perceived depends greatly upon the position from which perception occurs. When identity is centered entirely within thought, reality appears fragmented, unstable, and constantly threatening. When awareness begins recognizing itself as the observing presence behind thought, a profound sense of space enters experience. Life continues moving, challenges continue arriving, uncertainty continues existing, yet something fundamental changes. There is less struggle against the flow of experience, less attachment to mental constructions, less dependence upon constantly defending a personal narrative. The observer remains present while life unfolds. This discovery does not remove mystery from existence. It deepens it. The ordinary world begins revealing extraordinary dimensions that were previously overlooked. A simple moment becomes more vivid. A conversation becomes more meaningful. Silence becomes more noticeable. The fact of conscious existence itself becomes astonishing. The search that once moved endlessly from one external answer to another begins slowing down. Not because curiosity disappears, not because growth stops, but because the seeker finally discovers the foundation that was missing from every search. The discovery is not hidden in a distant future. It is not reserved for a select group. It is not locked behind complicated knowledge. It exists within the simple realization that awareness is already present before every thought, every interpretation, every memory, and every conclusion. And once this becomes clear, reality never appears quite the same again. The world remains what it has always been. Yet the one looking at the world begins seeing from a place the 99% never notice. And that changes everything. The hidden observer is not something you need to create, achieve, or become. It has been present through every moment of your life, quietly witnessing every thought, every emotion, every success, and every struggle. The reason the 99% miss it is not because it is hidden too deeply. They miss it because their attention is always captured by what is being observed, rather than the one who is observing. The greatest quantum secret may not be found in distant galaxies, advanced theories, or mysterious dimensions. It may be the simple realization that awareness itself has been here all along. Once you begin to recognize the observer behind your experience, reality starts to look different. The world remains the same, yet the way you see it changes forever. And that is the moment you begin to notice what most people never do.